Allow me to introduce our esteemed speakers from the leading consulting firm of the country, Leechiu Property Consultants. They will be talking about current real estate situation and investment opportunities in the South of Manila, and how unaddressed within a mixed-use development affects the value of a residential property. So our first speaker is a graduate from Ateneo de Manila University with a degree in business management and a master's degree in business management from the Asian Institute of Management. He has 25 years of experience in the real estate industry, from research, planning, and marketing to project implementation. Prior to joining Leechiu Property Consultants, he set up a boutique real estate consultancy firm and accumulated experience in the real estate industry. He is also among the top 10 in the National Real Estate Brokers Board exams of the Philippine Regulation Commission, garnering the 7th place nationwide. Ladies and gentlemen, Leechiu Property Consultants Research and Consultancy Director, Mr. Roy Amado Goles. Good afternoon, Mr. Roy.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Alan. Thank you for the introduction. And good morning.
Is a graduate from University of Santo Tomas with a degree in BS Commerce Economics major, civil service eligible, and has certification in corporate finance from Institute of Financial Consultants and Programming and Prescriptive Analytics from University of the Philippines, Diliman. Prior to joining Leechiu Property Consultants, she worked for over 9 years with Land Excel Consulting in the Business Planning Department. Our speaker has over 14 years of experience in market research, property evaluation, business plan, highest and best use study, feasibility study, industry studies, project conceptualization, and financial analysis. Good guys, let us all welcome Ms. Catherine D. Reformado. Good afternoon, Ms. Catherine. Okay. We will also be joined by Mr. Francis Adrian Viernes, the Associate Director for Data Analytics. Mr. Francis Adrian Viernes graduated cum laude in the Ateneo de Manila University with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics in 2010. He pursued his Master's in Finance in the University of the Philippines and graduated in 2018. In the same year, he completed his CFA certification. He finished in 2020 his executive diploma in real estate management and is currently pursuing a graduate course in data science in the Asian Institute of Management. Prior to joining Leechiu Property Consultants, Francis served as the head of research and consulting for Cushman & Wakefield and was an associate content manager for FactSet Philippines. Francis joined Leechiu Property Consultants in 2019 as head of the Data Analytics Department. Francis has over 10 years of experience in analytics. His professional affiliation with CFA earned him the position of chairman for its Asia Research Exchange platform. Good guys, let us welcome Mr. Francis Adrian Viernes.
Hi all, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. So there you go. We are extremely excited and we can't wait to hear more about your insights on what makes South 2 Residences property a sound investment. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Alan. And good morning, Team SMDC. Just some trivia. Did you know that the good guys in Japanese means Seijitsu Dansei? Okay. So, Kathy, will you be showing the deck already? Okay, so good morning again, and we are very honored today to be able to present our study that we conducted for SMDC. Many thanks to SMDC. So to start off, next page please, Kathy. Just a brief background, no? So we were invited by the team of SMDC to validate and confirm a hypothesis, and which is basically us as brokers, we intuitively know that as real estate practitioners, we know that residential condos beside malls or highly dense commercial areas are priced better and holds value over the long term due to high demand. So what we were asked to do was to determine whether there is indeed a price premium of SM South versus other developments in that area, and whether, in fact, being in a mixed-use location, it's more desirable and more marketable in terms of the sales velocity per month. Okay, next slide, please. So our presentation will be cut up into three parts. The first part is really a quick overview of the Philippine economy, the real estate situation in the country, basically Metro Manila. And then the second portion will be our study portion, which is a market research based on data analytics. And lastly, a question and answer portion. Okay, so the Philippines today. Um, while we are looking at a negative 16.5% drop in GDP for 2020 due to the COVID crisis, actually the country was in one of its best position economically. We were growing 6 to 7% per annum for the last 5 years, and our credit ratings have already gone up. In fact, during the ECQ period, we were upgraded to A minus by the Japan Credit Rating Agency. Why am I saying this? Because the big question in our minds is, will we be able to recover quickly and from this crisis? And our answer to that is, well, our crystal ball tells us likely, probably it's going to be a good recovery. Why am I saying that again? We have 109 million in population, 15 million in Metro Manila, and the average age of the Filipino is 25 years old. Okay? So imagine 25 years old. If we take a look at this graph, there's about 47% of the population who are millennials, aged 25 to 37. This is basically prime startup family age. Okay, so that's 6.5 million. Now, the Gen Z or 24 or younger is 27% or 3.8 million, while the Gen Xers like myself, we are a minority at 2.3 million or 16%. Okay, so there is tremendous potential for providing housing to this population. It's not here in this slide, but from my recollection, there were only about 890,000 condominium units in the whole of the Philippines, with a population of 109 million nationwide and 14 million in Metro Manila. That is a tremendously large market for SMDC to attack. Next slide, please. Kathy, yes. Okay, so why are we optimistic? In the next 5 to 6 years, we are going to see 248 kilometers of new roads, bridges, and railways. This is basically the BBB program of the government today. The money that is allocated for and will be deployed for the projects will help us recover from our current economic situation. Not only that, the decrease in, well, the projected decrease in traffic in Metro Manila will free up about 2 to 3 hours of productivity in a day for the employees. So just imagine the amount of economic activity that will be generated from this additional 2 to 3 hours that you will not anymore spend in traffic. Next slide, please. And okay, so since 2000 to up to today, 2020, the Philippines uh, has gone through so many negative so currently along the volcano of crisis, and so on and so forth. So I mean, in the last 3 weeks, we've had 3 typhoons and we've had floods all over, from Cagayan Valley down to Cavite, Pampanga, Metro Manila. But despite that, our remittances, so if I remember right, in September, our remittances were much higher than what it was last year. September, October, and November. It did dip in March, April, and May, but it has recovered already. And as we know, according to the Bangko Sentral of the Philippines, 60% of remittances um, from the OFWs, there are about 2 million deployed Filipinos and about 10 million worldwide. About 60% of the money they send to the country goes to real estate. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is what we are talking about of a recovery. However quick, we don't know, but we expect a what we call a market euphoria. In the last 2 to 3 days, we have heard that Pfizer and BioNTech have successfully finished their testing with a very high efficacy of 90 to 94% protection from the vaccine. Now, the problem with the country though is that we may not see this vaccine until maybe mid of 2021 or early 2022. Nevertheless, it's a good sign. We will be getting out of this health crisis soon. And when things get back to normal, we expect a strong and rapid recovery, and especially the markets, office, retail, hotel, tourism will bounce back. Fortunately, the residential market has been quite strong lately. Next slide, please. Okay, now going to the Metro Manila real estate market. Okay, so why has the Philippines and Metro Manila been growing tremendously? Well, all of this has been primarily led by development in the office sector and basically anchored on BPO growth. So in Metro Manila now, there are three primary CBDs, which are Makati, Ortigas, and BGC. But there are 51 business parks all over, catering to the BPO and the POGO market. And there are about 4 upcoming reclamation projects because master planned land is now scarce in Metro Manila. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the office, understandably, the demand for this year has been really has declined tremendously. Well, last year we had about 1.3 million square meters of office transactions or take up, of which 45% was POGO and 34% was BPO. For this quarter, for the third quarter, it was only 300,000 square meters or 298,000 square meters. That is a tremendous decline. However, we expect another, next slide please. Okay, so before that, and we are also seeing vacancies. So about 240,000 square meters of space has been vacated. And most of these are also the POGO. So there are current issues with the POGO industry. However, the last we heard was that about 60% of the POGO operators have already been cleared by the BIR or the Department of Finance and are ready to operate. So we are hoping that this will reduce the rate of vacancies that are happening today. Next slide, please. Okay, and why am I optimistic? Well, the current global financial crisis today in worldwide has resulted to companies, basically American companies, looking to cut costs. Okay, so when they say cut costs, that means outsourcing, and when they say outsourcing, it means going to the Philippines and hiring more people for call center work. Now, we are looking at about 337,000 square meters of new demand up until the end of the year. So we will probably end up with about 40 to 50% performance versus last year. It's not bad because we are not experiencing a contraction unlike in the US, which I think as of this quarter has already contracted by about minus 4 million square meters. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Kathy. Okay, now moving on to the residential market. currently there are about 26,943 units of condominium in Metro Manila. We saw a softening of demand from second quarter to third quarter 2020. So there was a decline of about 47% from the second quarter to the third quarter. And there were practically no new launches except for two SMDC towers and one DMCI. So I think the SMDC team would know that they launched the Gold Residences and another one I forgot. Okay. Now, next slide, please. Okay. So understandably, again, while the second quarter actually during the ECQ, the market did not perform so bad. During the third quarter, there was a slowdown. There was a tremendous slowdown. So only the mid income segment did not dramatically decline. There was a decline in all other sectors. Okay, so this is understandably the result already um, of the health crisis or of the pandemic. Next slide, please. Um, Now, while the sales have slowed down, the pricing actually has not changed much. Okay, so why did it happen, or why did the pricing not drop? It's because developers were able to lower reservation fees, lower down payment, and also instituted extended payment terms or flexible schemes. So surprisingly and thankfully, condominium prices have flattened and somehow increased a bit. Okay, so other high-end projects actually increased by 10 to 15% outside of Metro Manila. But that's another story. Next slide, please. Okay, so we did a study of sales of residential condominiums in Metro Manila from March 16 to May 31, 2020, during the ECQ period. So basically, this was the time when all big developers, announced that they were gonna cut capex. They delayed launches, and they started to slow down in selling, except SMDC. So within that period, actually, SMDC was able to capture a huge chunk of the market and is now a big market leader. So congratulations, guys. This ECQ period enabled the company to take a huge lead versus competition.